Hi, my name is Pat, and my friends call me Patio. I am your host on Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes. Have you ever gone into a bar and noticed all the different whiskeys and bourbons lined up behind the bar, listening to the bar lights, and wondering what to order, how to order it, and what's their story behind each bottle? Well, this is a show in an American journey for bourbon lovers to discover the many different varieties of bourbons and the stories of the people behind them. Let's learn about the drinks, the food, and the people who make this beautiful brown drink an American favorite. Ready to join me? Let's get started. Welcome to today's episode of Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes. Our first show, I have the pleasure to travel to northern Lower Michigan to visit a distillery that is truly a farm-to-glass production. And then I will introduce to you a new Michigan business in Kalamazoo area that is using bourbon in their menu that will have your mouth watering. So let's get started. My trip to Thompsonville, which is less than 2 miles from Crystal Mountain Resort, was a beautiful drive through rolling hills and woods of Michigan, and then onto a dirt road back into the boonies. And then suddenly you come to an open wheat field clearing, and you see the farm and distillery on the other side. This is Iron Fish Distillery. They have truly created a destination for those who love the outdoors, conservation, and of course, spirits. This is Michigan's first farm-to-glass distillery with a sustainable spirit pledged to their customers, partners, community, and Mother Nature. And in 5 short years, they have award-winning spirits in both vodka and their gin. They have captivated Michiganders' heart through their spirits and their spirit of giving back. With a portion of their sales from Iron Fish Distillery's rye whiskey will go to the Michigan Arctic Grayling Initiative to help reintroduce the Arctic grayling fish back into the Michigan streams. And also their support toward historic Calumet Theater in Calumet, Michigan, with proceeds from their Copper Queen whiskey. When the 2020 pandemic began, Iron Fish Distillery contributed to the pandemic needs by switching to producing hand sanitizers during our time of need. They also created a safe place for families and friends to gather in outdoor settings while continuing to follow Michigan ordinances and safety practices. The tours are currently closed during the pandemic, but a must-see in the near future to hear all their stories of their farm. The distillery is founded and run by 2 sisters and their husbands who have a passion for whiskey. Heidi Boger, David Wallace, Sarah and Richard Anderson are the owners of Iron Fish Distillery. Please welcome my first guest, Richard Anderson. I want to welcome you and thank you for taking the time and showing me everything today, because that was an amazing tour.
Good.
And I hope that you'll be able to open your tours back up again here soon.
I know what you saw here is something we love doing, which is touring people around this historic farm. So it was fun to be able to do it at a distance.
Great.
With you.
Yeah, and the more we can show people online too, what is out there, what's available, especially in Michigan, that's even better. Yeah. Can you tell a little bit about what we have in front of us here and your gold medal winners? And
yeah, well, I'd be happy to. I mean, there's kind of a sampling of what we're doing, both in spirits, both clear spirits, as well as whiskey finished in barrels from around the world, as well as kind of the extension of specialty food products. So, but let's start with the big guns. Mm-hmm. And for Iron Fish Distillery, we're probably best known for our 2 main products. One is our maple bourbon, which is finished in barrels that had maple syrup aging in them from a 5-generation sugar bush. So this is our maple bourbon. And, to get a good maple bourbon, we don't flavor bourbon. We actually age maple syrup in whiskey barrels. And so coming out of that after 6 months is this product, which is our maple syrup aged in whiskey barrels. Then the whiskey goes in and comes out about 6 months later, and takes us about a whole year to actually transform high rye bourbon into a maple bourbon whiskey. The other product, which is a big, I think, statement of craft and of authenticity, and also takes gin in more of a floral and American botanical style, is our Michigan Woodland Gin. And I know you're a whiskey podcast, But I would say that this gin is kind of the distiller's IPA.
Okay.
Right? We're not hiding behind a barrel. This is all us. This is grain from Michigan and botanicals from the Michigan woodlands. We also throw in some botanicals from around the world. But it's about a 20 botanical gin. But its characteristic is citrus forward, and that citrus comes from a tree in Michigan called concolor fir. Because of course we didn't want to use oranges and lemons, right? We're Michigan woodland gin.
Right.
With a little lavender in the middle, and a little surprising fennel, licorice, and pepper on the back end. So we always encourage whiskey drinkers to try gins. And in fact, actually, it's a bit of a trend. Some of the Scottish distilleries that are making these amazing barley whiskeys have started moving into these very floral forward gins. And we can see why. It's just so much fun to do.
Great. That's awesome. And then you've got your rye up here.
Well, moving right along, actually, you just picked out one that is one of the first whiskeys that we've made from scratch. Okay. So this is a rye whiskey where we source the grain from Free Soil, Manistee County, which is just south of us, about 20 miles. It's an all rye whiskey. And rye has rye's got a little spice and attitude that is not as present in a bourbon, which is more dominated by corn and the sweetness of corn. And so this rye whiskey brings up and delivers, I think, a hearty, spicy flavor and taste. It's our small barrel series. So it was in the barrel for about 21 months. It's at the distillery. It's about 96.2 proof, I think. And we submitted it to USA Spirits out of 450 entrants. This took 16th place and got a 95.
That's great.
So we were thrilled with the fact that our first whiskey from scratch, coming out the gate, scored well and tastes fantastic.
That's excellent.
So there's some bitters that we're actually making as complements to our whiskey or our cocktail program, and we have a cocktail cherry offering as well, which is great in the Manhattan. Yes. And then we've got a couple examples, but there are many more. We have examples of our barrel finishing program where we'll take a sourced whiskey that we purchased. We do that because we're a young distillery. We wanted a fantastic whiskey. We tell everybody on the back label, hey, this isn't ours, but we're finishing it in barrels from around the world. And then we're doing that while we're waiting for our major estate whiskeys that come from this property to age. And that's gone very well for us. We have one that's Imperial Stout, which actually a local brewery takes our maple bourbon barrels and they age an Imperial Stout beer in it. And then that comes back to us, that stout barrel comes back to us and we stout a whiskey. There's a little sediment at the bottom from actually the stout beer. Okay. And so we always say, if you're going to serve it, shake this whiskey before serving, so you get all that stout flavor in it. And then finally, but definitely not last on anyone's list, is our forecast.
Yes, I had that. It was amazing.
So what did you think?
Oh, it was, I don't want to just say it was smooth. It was just, it just went out, it hits your tongue and you start getting a little bit of all those flavors and it just makes you melt. It wasn't overpowering. It wasn't, you got a little of the taste of each thing that you got in there. And I loved it. It was really good. It's something that you just want to sip and eat. And it's just an amazing product. Well done on that.
Well, thanks. I think this is uniquely an Iron Fish offering because you're in our barrel house. We call it our brick house.
Right.
And this brick house is where we have barrels from around the world. We have sherry barrels from Spain. We have cognac barrels from France. We have maple barrels here that we actually cure here right on the farm from local American maple syrup operation. We have Caribbean rum casks from the Mount Bay Distillery.
That's amazing.
And so what we decided to do is to do a seasonal release of a 4-cask blend of finished whiskeys So this is a combination of maple, Caribbean rum, cognac, and sherry. And each year you'll be able to tell our release, almost like a wine.
Right.
Really almost like a vintage.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 2021 vintage, and it tells you the percentages that come out of each of those barrels. And in Michigan, this can be found at most of the better liquor stores throughout the state.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we got more for Christmas. It was really outstanding. I really liked it. And you also have barrels that are made here in Michigan. Can you tell me about that?
We do. You know, so a barrel can influence the direction and flavor of a whiskey beyond 60 to 80%. So from maybe 75% would be the folks that are involved in finishing believe that a barrel can really influence and take a whiskey in a completely different direction. And of course, the coopers in this country are primarily organized around and serve the bourbon industry out of Kentucky. And so there's a lot of artisans out of Missouri. We have some of their barrels as well. But we chose early on to create Iron Fish Distillery as a platform to collaborate with local partners. 7 farms that are providing us grain from around Michigan. And we're working with maple syrup farm, honey farms. We're working with fruit farms to make liqueurs. But when Crow's Nest opened up, which is a cooperage just south of Grand Rapids, taking Missouri oak and also Michigan oak, we met with them, and we now produce 100% of Iron Fish bourbons are aged in those barrels, and we'll start seeing those bourbons come out in a couple of years.
Great. And you have more events that are planned for the distillery here too, and that's on your website and
Yes.
on your Facebook, so people can go there to check it out and make sure they follow you there. And you have some of these products available in gift packs I saw that was outstanding. That's a great idea as well.
We do. We have an old-fashioned kit, which is really popular. We have a breakfast kit,
I saw that.
which actually features our maple syrup and really a local jam house here called We Be Jammin'.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to collaborate with all these amazing specialty food providers and farms in Michigan.
That's great. I love how you keep it all in Michigan and keep the heart there. Your passion with the distillery is amazing. You have such a family staff, that just takes a passion overload of everybody's working together for one purpose. So that's outstanding too. Can you tell a little bit? I know a little story of how Iron Fish came up, how it was a steelhead. Do you want to talk about
Oh yeah, I'd be
that?
delighted. You and I are sitting on a 120-acre farm that was founded in 1887. And it ultimately became a dairy operation with the grain grown on this farm to support the cattle feed portion of the farm. But it's actually situated on the Betsy River watershed, which is a natural and scenic protected river under Michigan law. So this farm, like many farms, sitting on a delicate, fragile ecosystem, has the opportunity to either be compatible and be complementary or have an impact, and we did not want it to have an impact. And so we decided to put an exclamation point on that. We decided to name Iron Fish and honor Iron Fish after the steelhead that run the Betsy River and return to their origin each year and reside in the river. They actually follow the salmon up. And a nickname for Iron Fish, or rather a nickname for steelhead, is Iron Fish. And you may know this because you were in the Upper Peninsula. That's a more common nickname for steelhead in the UP because of the iron ore industry, but it's kind of taken on as a nickname. And steelhead have this attitude and this wild streak and are hard to catch. And you have to kind of know where they're at and what their habitats are. And just like our whiskey, worth every effort.
Absolutely. That's a phenomenal story. Love it. So, let's see, what else do we miss here? It's good for you.
Do you like the drink?
Yeah, I do like the drink.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we always thought that you can come down this road once, but if the drinks aren't good and the spirits aren't good, you may not come down this third road again. And so it's one thing to have an end destination here that's interesting for the full family, but we've lifted the bar, we think, and continue to seek out the best of how our spirits can be expressed in beverages and in the food we serve through our wood-fired oven, and make sure that it's a family experience.
I think the experience that you've came up with, because we're dealing with this pandemic, and we have to think outside the box, but we can't have people enclosed, so now we have to be outside, and we came up with teepees out there around the campfires, and then each teepee has it's a fish name for each one to identify, and they're all warmed, and you can bring a family in, have your drinks and a pizza and whatnot right here. It is an amazing idea. Who came up with that one?
Well, you know, it started as we were moving into the summer season, which this is a big end destination. We typically host over 100,000 people every year here at Iron Fish through our outdoor operations here, our patio, our gaming area, but also our wedding venue and our family area for the barn. And we have an Airbnb and we have a campground here. And so there's really quite a lot to attract folks here. But as we moved through the summer, we kept everybody outside. We even built what we called cocktail shelters, so that you would feel like you had your own space. Or if you didn't want to be with anybody, you could actually go back with your fully supported recreational vehicle. If you're a member of Harvest Host, by the way, check out an organization nationally called Harvest Host.
Okay.
They allow people who are members who own completely self-supported recreational vehicles to camp for free at places like Iron Fish, so breweries, wineries, distilleries, golf courses. And so we have people who can actually just get cocktails to go, food to go from our wood-fired oven and go back to the farm and enjoy the farm. But in the wintertime, we were scratching our head, wondering, okay, how are we going to keep people outside and do it safely and anticipate any additional restrictions? And we did that by looking at what others were doing and learning from others. And we picked a tent that's capable of holding a snow load, that can be heated, individually heated, that can actually be individually sanitized. So we do a hydrochloric acid spray, and there's a little more to it than that, but we'll do a mist of it. It takes us 15 minutes to turn it over. We've started a reservation system. And Thanksgiving weekend, it was full the entire time.
That's great.
So people get to enjoy their family. It has to be, right now, under the current regulations, it has to be a single family household.
It's kind of a never-changing thing.
That's right. Yeah, check our website and Facebook for the latest.
That's great.
But that is a reservation. The tents are a reservation.
Okay, good. Good to know. Now we'll have more of this information on Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes.com, as well as for ironfishdistilleries.com. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
So you can keep up with everything that's going on. I think this is a blast. If you can learn more information here. And I'll have more on the website in the box that will follow up on this.
Thank you so much, Richard. I had a blast on my visit. To learn more about Iron Fish Distillery and check out their online store, please go to their website, ironfishdistillery.com, and be sure to follow them on Facebook for all their updates and events. By the way, you can stay at Crystal Mountain Resort, and they will drive you and your group to the distillery, which is great after a few drinks. Or there's the original farmhouse at Iron Fish that is available through Airbnb. Check it out on their website as well. I will have more on their story on my website with Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes. Next up, a new Michigan business that made their start during a pandemic, because that's what happens when you drink bourbon. You come up with great ideas. Their love for food and bourbon led them to creating a catering business out of their home and quickly became a hit in their local area with takeout dinners and more. Their unique twist on foods with bourbon launched their business success. Please welcome co-owner, head caterer, and my niece, Kristen Sweeney. Kristen Sweeney, and you have Salted Soul. What is Salted Soul stand for? How did you come up with that name? You're out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, and your partner, a little bit about him, and what are you going to make us today?
Okay, so hi, my name is Kristen Sweeney. I am out of the Kalamazoo area. So Salted Soul kind of came out of this idea that, we're a bunch of friends getting together last year, when we could get together with friends. Every get together we would go to, my friend Jake, my business partner, and I, we would bring these like incredible dishes to share. And every time we ate one of the dishes, we'd be like, yo,
Oh, man.
you can cook. And he's, I call him my meat man. And so he's good at barbecue, smoking. Like he's got just this like incredible natural talent for cooking. He is like a jack of all trades.
Great.
And he's a contractor by career, but he loves to smoke on the side and loves to provide like good food to people. And I love to cook good food for people.
Yes, you
and
do.
We're like, by our powers combined, what can we do? So it was the first lockdown in Michigan. We were like, well, we're bored.
That's right.
And I really thrive off of serving other people. And we knew that like a lot of people couldn't go out to eat anymore because all the restaurants were closed and places were doing takeaway, which was great.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, let's do something fun. And we were actually at a prayer meeting at church. We go to the same church, and we were at this prayer meeting, and his wife was like, you know what? You guys really should do a restaurant together. And so we were at a Super Bowl party, and we poured some bourbon for each other, and we sat down and we were like, what does this look like? What could this actually look like?
See what happens when you pour bourbon?
Right, exactly. Like the idea is to start going.
That's right.
But we're like, do we do food truck? What is our dream? What is our goal? And we're like, well, let's start small right now. Let's do takeout and let's make really good barbecue and really good smoked food. And so just kind of see where it takes us, and kind of sat on that for a minute and prayed about it and thought about it and dreamed about it. And then we kind of realized we kind of wanted to center around like soul food and comfort food, and taking all those staples that we thought we knew and just kind of elevating them and bringing them up in a new way. Because sometimes food at restaurants gets a little tired and gets a little boring. Yeah. So we're like, let's notch this up a little bit. And so then we started kind of just cook. So how do we come up with a name? We sent hundreds of names back and forth. There are a lot of kind of inappropriate names at the start.
Of course.
As it is.
Bourbon was involved. Yeah.
What's that?
Bourbon was involved.
Bourbon was definitely involved. Yeah, we're like in like late night texts, and we thought about like Smoke and Soul, but then we're like, is that too like, I don't know, that doesn't really define us, and what does it actually look like for our brand? And we decided we're kind of hipsters, so hipsters salt everything. And
that's right.
Why not go with Salted Soul? So I landed on Salted Soul. We did a few takeaway events out of my garage and out of my mom's garage in Lansing. And this summer, I think we made over $2,000 profit in just like 5 events.
That's great.
Yeah, paid for 2 fridges so I can like hold all this stuff. So it was profitable in just like 3 months. So that was amazing. But now, so my business partner is a contractor, and he's been catching up on all of his jobs that he missed during the first lockdown. So he's just been crazy busy. So we're kind of just on like a pause right now, and we don't have like a need to really work. So we're just kind of like practicing and serving our food and getting better at what we do. And yeah, we'll take off again next year when things kind of calm down again in our personal lives and my kids go to school, because I have 4-year-old twins right now. And
that's right.
So hopefully next year they'll go to school and then it can really take off. So yeah.
Excellent. All right. Sounds great. I mean, it's a great start in 2020. So, more power to you. And I like to be able to help other people, rise up to meet their goals and whatnot too. So let's see if we can get you in front of some people as well. So what do you have to show us for today?
I love it. Well, thank you. So today we are going to be cooking for the holidays. So classic in our family is Grandma's sweet potato casserole.
Yeah.
So we're taking Grandma's sweet potato casserole and we're jumping it up with maple and bourbon because we got to put bourbon in everything. It's just so versatile. And especially around the holidays, it's got that beautiful caramel flavor and those deep, rich tones that really just kind of warm the soul. And so it's perfect for anything that's like really warming, really inviting. So we're gonna sweet potato casserole, and we're gonna top it with marshmallows. I know some people like to do a pecan praline crunch sort of thing on top, but in our family we do marshmallows.
That's right.
And actually tonight I'm going to be making either bourbon or maple marshmallows. Haven't quite decided yet.
Okay.
To go on top. So I just remembered one of my burners is on, and I was afraid of burning something, but it's on level.
Okay.
So anyway, we're going to make that. And then while we're kind of putting that together, we're also I'm going to show you how to infuse a bourbon. And we're infusing bourbon with bacon. So to make a bourbon bacon. And I'm going to show you how to make a bacon infused old fashioned.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah. And make it evolving. But I will explain that in a minute. Let's start with the sweet potato casserole. So yesterday I cooked up some sweet potatoes. And because we're only doing, a small gathering, it's just the four of us, and chances are my girls aren't going to eat this because they're 4 and they're terrorists. So I just cooked up some sweet potatoes and gently mashed them because I like the gentle, I like getting chunks of mashed potatoes in my casserole. If you really like it to be smooth, you can mix it up in with a mixer or mush it even more. Right now I'm kind of reheating them. Gotta turn it back on. And then I added some heavy cream.
Okay.
And this right here, I am browning some butter. And the way brown butter is really amazing because it adds like a really deep nutty flavor to the food. And so I love to do brown butter in almost everything.
Okay.
My siblings tease me a lot that if I'm cooking, it's going to have brown butter or bourbon or both.
Or both. Okay.
And it's going to have both. So to brown butter, you put, I have about a pound of butter in this pan.
Okay.
On medium heat. It's going to slowly melt down. And then as it melts down, it's going to start bubbling up.
Okay.
And the way you tell it's done is not by color, but it's by smell.
All right. So brown, you're not to the point where it's going to burn or anything. It's just turning brown naturally in a caramel-like way.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, we're caramelizing the butter.
Okay, cool.
We're burning off all the milk and the water in it and just keeping the solid fats.
Okay.
But then that adds even deeper flavor because of all the fats.
Gotcha.
So we're heating up the sweet potatoes and the cream. We're mixing it together. I added I would say maybe a quarter teaspoon of salt.
Okay.
More or less, depending on your flavors. Next, I'm gonna add, while it's heating up with the cream, I'm gonna add, I don't know, maybe 2 tablespoons of maple syrup.
That sounds good.
We'll start there.
Start there.
Yeah, I always go based on proportion. Maybe let's do 3. 3 seems better. Be really sweet. I think in our family, Grandma uses just white sugar, which is still good.
Or brown sugar. Yeah, she uses white in her recipe, but yeah.
Yeah, and brown
I
sugar.
use brown quite often too.
Yeah, I love the flavor, and especially with the deep flavors we're using here, brown would be better. So I'm going to use kind of a combination of maple syrup and brown sugar.
Okay.
So I add 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. And I'm going to do 3 tablespoons of bourbon, and I'm using an Ezra Brooks.
Okay.
Pop. And I use this one because it's massive. And it's just a really good, well-balanced bourbon. Let me have it in the shot. It's a good, well-balanced bourbon, and it's cheap. I didn't want to go with the really cheap stuff because it doesn't really have a good flavor.
Right. Kind of in the middle of the road is nice for cooking, and the higher ones I don't want to use expensive ones into my cooking because that's good for sipping. So I don't know if I want that in my dish. So
exactly. So this bad boy is $30. So $30 for 1.75 liters, I believe.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So it's a great all-around bourbon. I use it for cooking. Okay, so now the sweet potatoes are kind of boiling up.
Okay.
And while this heats up, I'm going to infuse the bourbon. So the way you do this is, okay, this is one of my jars of bacon fat. And you never, ever, ever throw away bacon fat. Ever. Like, you can use it for everything. And I do, to the point where it's questionable. So, you know.
So if you cook bacon and then you put the grease into a jar, you seal it up, do you refrigerate it or just leave it on your counter?
I leave it on my counter because it's just fat but I have some in my fridge as well and in my freezer.
Okay.
I totally could have made it as a pie.
You eat a lot of bacon, girl.
I know, I do cook a lot of bacon. That's kind of one of the staples of Salted Soul. A lot of bacon. And I cook brunches for our church, and so a lot of bacon.
Yeah.
All right, now you're gonna heat that up. You can do it in a microwave, but sorry, I got my nose. The problem is that it could splatter. So you can control the heat better if you can see it on the stove. So I just have it a little bit. It's just gonna take a minute. Just gonna melt it down. Right now the butter is cooking. It's starting to bubble up, and it's gonna start popping. And I'm also cooking a lot of brown butter for all of my other things I'm making. Okay. So, and then we also have toasted pecans. We're gonna pop those in the oven at 400 for, I don't know, until you can smell it.
Okay.
10 minutes? I don't know. I'm not great at this. So the bacon's already almost melted down.
Okay.
Gonna stir this one more time. Now, in the sweet potato casserole, people tend to put in vanilla, but I'm using bourbon in place of vanilla, in place of the extract.
Adding the grease in there, you wouldn't add any butter to it. It'd be too greasy then, it'd be too much. Or you're adding some butter in.
I'm adding butter. I'm not adding the bacon grease to the sweet potatoes because it would be really overpowering.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, bacon grease is already done.
Okay.
Gonna turn it off. So now you're gonna kind of want it to cool a little bit because you don't want it scalding. I have a decanter, an old decanter from my grandpa, a funnel, and you're gonna want a funnel so you don't burn yourself.
Okay, don't want to do that.
No, you're gonna pour the bacon grease into the decanter, and typically you'd want to filter it because I've got like some clumps here. I kind of like the clumps. The reason we're doing it this way is because it was explained to me that what we're doing is a process called washing the bourbon. And basically we're just taking all the fats from the bacon and washing, letting it mix with all the bourbon. And we're gonna pour the bourbon into here. So it was about a cup of bacon fat. And then we're gonna fill the rest of the decanter to about there.
Holy moly.
And we're doing this now so that we can make a Christmas gift for the people. So I'm giving bacon infused bourbon to my brother because he wants to start his own little bar. So you kind of shake it up. And then do you see how that's kind of like cloudy and things are floating?
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to let it get to room temp and then just age it for 10 days, 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then put it in a bottle to serve. So what it's going to look like when it's all done is I have it in this other Ezra Brooks bottle.
Okay, that's a lot darker. Yeah.
So when you smell it, it still smells like bourbon, but it's got a little bit of the bacon hint to it.
Okay, so that bottle already is a mix that you've made.
Yep, it's already infused.
Gotcha.
So you pour however much you want.
Couple fingers there. Okay.
It feels right. Okay, so I'm going to quickly do a quick check on the butter. So you got to pull your hair back. And I lost it, and it still
have that problem.
Yeah, it still smells like butter.
Okay.
And that's what you want. You want it to stop smelling like butter and start smelling more like caramel.
Okay.
So we're going to keep letting that go. We're going to turn the heat on sweet potatoes because those are done. Okay, next in any good old fashioned, you want a simple syrup. In this case, I use maple syrup.
Okay.
Again, add as much as you want.
All right.
I like it kind of sweet, so I do a nice dripping.
Okay.
But then even out the sweetness. Our classic bitters you can get anywhere. Classic aromatic bitters. I tried this once. I thought it'd be. I'm trying to be a chef, and so I try to taste things. And
no, don't do that. Good to know.
A couple dashes, and then it's really important to stir it to get all the flavors mixed together. Now, this cocktail is going to be an evolving cocktail. And what I mean by that is I'm going to put an ice cube in, a craft ice cube I made with a brulee. I made a brulee orange juice and some ice. And so what that turns into is as you drink it, the flavor of the ice, so the ice will start to melt.
Yeah. And
then the flavor of the brulee orange comes through, the smoked ice comes through. So as you drink it, it tastes more and more orangey and more.
That's a good way to do it. That's cool.
Yeah, it turns into a smoked old fashioned. So let me get that out. That is right here. I'm gonna
you don't have one for me. Come on, Dan.
I know, sorry. So if you can see the lines.
Okay.
I'm just gonna pop that in here.
Nice.
Let it sit for a minute. Gotta wipe my hands down.
Okay.
Okay. Next, smell the butter. All right, so that's pretty much done. I'm gonna let it go a little bit more, but for time's sake, I'm going to get out. Let's see. This is a third of a cup.
Okay.
I'm gonna probably about a quarter cup of butter. Pour it into the sweet potatoes. Stir that up until it's all blended. You know how to blend things. Then when the nuts are done, they'll smell a little bit nuttier. Actually, they're done. I always go based on smell. So I'm really glad I didn't get full-blown COVID. I lost sense of taste or smell. My COVID only I just had a headache.
Well, I'm so glad you're better.
Yeah. And then I chop up the nuts. The processor just kind of fell apart.
Because it sounds, Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, add it to the sweet potatoes, put it in a baking dish that's already greased.
Yep.
And bake it for, I don't know what feels right, 20 minutes?
Oh, that, yep.
And then you add, you don't have to bake it because the marshmallows or the sweet potatoes are already baked.
Yeah,
so then
put it in the oven though, to pop it in for the marshmallows to get toasty.
There we go. Toast them up. If you make it ahead of time, you can just put the sweet potatoes in the fridge and then you heat it up. And then you put the marshmallows on top, which is what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Okay, great.
So there we go. This is the evolving bacon infused old fashioned. So I'm going to. It's good. Still good.
I bet it is. I'm going to try it.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. We'll get it going.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. If anybody wants to follow up on this, they can check it out on Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes, and also go to Facebook and Salted Soul, so you can like Miss Sweeney here, and make sure you follow her. So when they get back up and running, and if you're in the Kalamazoo, Michigan area, or probably anywhere down in the Southwest Michigan area, you can join her for any of her marvelous dinners. So there you have it. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Excellent. Thank you, Pat.
All right. You take care. Before we wrap it up today, I just want to give a special thanks to my guests, Richard Anderson and Kristen Sweeney. Follow Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes on Facebook group page for more fun stuff and show info. Check out my website and blog to learn more about whiskey and bourbon. And make sure you subscribe to catch all our shows. On our next episode, I will be interviewing American Fifth Distillery in Lansing, Michigan. We will be discussing mixology and their beautiful restored in 1920 distillery tasting bar. Kristen will be back to show us how to make maple bourbon icing for her homemade cinnamon rolls. And that's a wrap. Hey, thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like more information on today's episode, you can go to my website, whiskeywishes.com, or click on the link below. Subscribe now for the next episode. I have a great lineup of interviews with distillery owners, some fabulous chefs, and some bartenders who are willing to share their secrets to some great bourbon cocktails. See you next time on Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes. Cheers!